For nearly a century, millions have chased the ultimate world-famous formula for wealth and success. Yet the version they've been following is missing its central engine, a massive component deliberately erased before the book ever reached the public. In 1937, Napoleon Hill published what would become the textbook for high achievers. He established a set of strict rules, emphasizing concepts like definiteness of purpose, unyielding faith, and relentless persistence. Readers memorize these instructions, waking up early and applying immense physical effort to force their goals into reality. But instead of manifesting wealth, many find themselves in a state of constant exhaustion, hitting wall after wall despite following the rules. This high failure rate isn't caused by a lack of ambition. It happens because the version of the book the world treats as a complete guide is missing the very foundation required for those rules to work. While searching through a bookstore, Jerry Hicks, a man who taught standard education seminars for years, found a vintage copy that looked nothing like the modern versions he was used to. He took both the modern and vintage copies back to his hotel room, spending the afternoon comparing the two texts line by line to see what separated them. To understand how the mechanics of success actually operate, we have to look past the modern interpretation and examine exactly what was censored. In his original writing, Hill leaned heavily into the mechanics of energy. He wrote explicitly about source energy, consciousness, and what he called the ethers. But publishers in the 1930s were wary. They feared that the general public would reject these vibrational concepts as too weird or pseudoscientific, potentially hurting the book's sales. They demanded a sanitized manual. They stripped away the energetic theory, forcing the book to focus almost exclusively on tangible, physical action steps. Removing this foundation was like removing the engine from a car while leaving the steering wheel intact. It gives you the tools to steer, but no power to move. By erasing the science of source energy, the publishers guaranteed that Hill's most famous instructions would be misinterpreted for nearly a century. For example, the modern world views persistence as grinding physical labor. Hill's original manuscript defined it as persisting in a specific feeling of expectation, regardless of current results. Similarly, faith was not described as blind hope, but as the ability to recognize a vibration before it has physically manifested into sight or touch. Hill's original text identified logical reasoning as a primary obstacle. Logic forces the mind to focus on current physical facts, which by definition are the evidence of what you have already created, not what you want to create. This creates split energy. Broadcasting a desire for wealth while using logic to confirm your lack of it is like pressing the gas and brake simultaneously. Achieving momentum requires moving past logic, relying on emotional sensing to follow the path of least resistance. The unedited texts point to a single mechanical reality. Source energy is a continuous, ever-present stream. It is never withheld. We simply create resistance that blocks us from receiving it. To stop that resistance, you have to bypass the analytical mind and enter what is called the receptive mode. Reaching this state requires a specific type of meditation. It is not about intense visualization, but rather the total cessation of active thought. To silence the reasoning mind, you must provide it with a steady, neutral, sensory anchor that prevents it from drifting into old patterns of resistance. This can be any repetitive sound or sight, a flickering flame, a dripping faucet, or the steady hum of an air conditioner. As the mind locks into this rhythm, the erratic frequency of daily stress smooths out into a clean wave. Your vibration raises, perfectly syncing with your target goals. Resistance disappears, and the path forward becomes completely intuitive. Napoleon Hill's original formula replaces the mandate for relentless physical hustle with a singular daily practice, finding the receptive mode and allowing your intuition to dictate the move. If this story gave you something to think about, you'll find more resources and related links in the description below. Subscribe if you want to see more stories just like this one.